The stars were silent, but the silence was heavy, almost unnatural. Ships drifted in the void, burned, broken, and empty. Once, it had been an armada strong enough to dominate whole sectors. Now, it was only wreckage, floating tombs in the dark. The story began with them, the coalition fleets. They had believed humanity was weak, small, and isolated. They had come in numbers that dwarfed anything Earth had seen. Hundreds of cruisers. Dozens of battleships. Enough firepower to erase a planet's defenses in minutes. They had marched on Earth with arrogance. But now, no one survived to tell their tale. The first who discovered the wrecks was a Kalari scout ship. Its commander, Relar, had expected to find Earth broken and begging for mercy. Instead, what he saw froze the blood in his veins. "Report," his second officer whispered, staring at the drifting metal. Relar's voice cracked as he replied, There are no signals. No survivors. Their fleet is gone." The crew moved closer. Hulls were torn open as if by impossible weapons. Some ships were split neatly in half. Others were nothing but molten frames. Energy readings remained, lingering like ghosts, but they were unlike any known technology. The Coalition had brought the most advanced shields, plasma weapons, and annihilation bombs. Yet here, they were nothing. "What could do this?" the officer asked. Relar's eyes shifted to the sensor feed. Among the ruins, something moved. At first, he thought it was another dead vessel spinning in the void. But then it changed course, deliberate, steady, alive. It was small compared to the giant dreadnoughts of the Coalition. Sleek, angular, with dark metal that drank the starlight. The human warship. The crew of the Kalari scout ship panicked. They left one alive, one ship. "We must retreat." But Relar shook his head. No. That ship did not survive the battle, it ended it. The human vessel glided through the wreckage like a predator among bones. Not a scratch marked its hull. Its engines burned faintly, silent and calm, as if it had never even been challenged. Fear spread through the scout ship. Reports would later say the Kalari crew felt something more than fear, a pressure, a weight, as if the human ship itself was watching them, judging them. Relar gave the only order he could. Transmit everything. The galaxy must know what happened here. As the scout ship turned, a pulse of energy rippled from the human vessel. Not an attack, not a weapon. A message. Simple. Terrifying. Do not return. The signal was raw, primal, and clear. No translation was needed. The Kalari ship fled, leaving behind the graveyard of the Coalition. But the memory of what they saw would not fade. They carried it back to the Council, back to the endless empires that had once laughed at Earth. Now they did not laugh. Rumors spread faster than light. Entire systems whispered of the massacre. How hundreds of ships vanished into fire. How a single human warship turned them to ash. How survivors were not allowed. Some dismissed it as a myth, a story twisted by fear. Others swore the humans had awoken ancient weapons from their homeworld. A few even claimed that humanity was no longer entirely mortal. But those who saw the wrecks knew the truth. The stars themselves seemed quieter after that battle, as if they feared to speak the name of the species that had destroyed an armada in a single night. The humans did not speak. They did not boast. Their ships did not parade through alien space. They only left warnings, clear and cold. One fact became certain: no one survived humanity's wrath. And for the first time, the galaxy trembled at the thought that Earth, the small blue world at the edge of the stars, was no longer a place to conquer. It was a name to fear. Relar did not sleep for many cycles after his escape. Whenever he closed his eyes, he saw the same image, the human ship, untouched, gliding through wreckage. The silence of the stars pressing down like judgment. Some nights, he wondered if humanity had spared him on purpose. A warning messenger. A living voice to spread their message. Other nights, he feared the truth was worse. That humanity hadn't even noticed him. That his ship was too small, too meaningless to destroy. That, perhaps, was the most terrifying thought of all. The council chamber was filled with noise. Alien voices overlapped, shouted, argued. The wreckage of the Coalition fleet had shaken the galaxy like thunder. Images from Relar's scout ship played again and again across the holoscreens, burned cruisers, melted battleships, and that one human warship moving like a shadow through the graveyard. For centuries, the Coalition had crushed anyone who resisted. No world could stand against them. And yet, Earth had done more than resist. Earth had destroyed them. Impossible, a Drex warlord growled, his mandibles clicking. No single world could achieve this. It must be lies. Relar stood before them, his hands trembling. He wanted to speak, but fear made his throat dry. He had seen the truth with his own eyes. The silence of the battlefield still haunted him. I watched it, Relar said at last, his voice cracking. The human ship moved without effort. It tore through us like nothing I have ever seen. That vessel was not surviving the battle, it was the executioner. The chamber fell quiet. The words executioner carried weight, even among species that had slaughtered billions in war. One of the counselors leaned forward, his scaled skin glistening. Do you expect us to believe that a single human ship destroyed hundreds of vessels? No weapon can do this. Relar shook his head slowly. No weapon that you know. The council murmured. Some looked afraid. Others looked angry. No one admitted it aloud, but many of them wondered the same thing. If one human ship could do this, how many more were hidden on Earth? The Drex warlord slammed a clawed fist onto the table. This is a trick. The humans cannot be allowed to frighten the council with lies. I say we return to Earth with greater force. Burn their planet until nothing remains. The chamber erupted again. Some shouted for revenge, others for caution. But deep inside, they all knew the truth. The Coalition fleet had not been weak. It had been the strongest force the galaxy had seen in centuries. If it had been erased in a single night, then returning might mean doom. Still, pride blinded them. They are only one world, a counselor hissed. One planet with fragile cities and primitive armies. They cannot fight us forever. Relar's voice broke the noise. If you return, none of you will survive. The silence that followed was heavier than steel. The meeting ended without agreement. Some left with vengeance burning in their hearts. Others left in silence, thinking of the human ship that moved like death itself. Far from the council chamber, Earth was quiet. The humans said nothing. They did not spread messages of victory. They did not boast of their strength. Instead, they rebuilt their defenses quietly, as if preparing for something greater. Inside a hidden base on the far side of the moon, the warship that had destroyed the Coalition rested. Its black hull glimmered faintly under artificial lights. Engineers moved around it like ants around a giant, never speaking too loudly, never touching it without permission. The ship was called Nemesis. But the truth was even darker. Nemesis was not new. It was not a weapon of the present. It was old. Too old. Its design came from a time before Earth's history was even fully remembered. It had been unearthed, not built. The humans had awakened something buried. Inside the command deck of Nemesis, Captain Eric Vey sat in silence. His hands rested on the chair, his eyes scanning the endless data flowing across his screens. He had seen the Coalition's attack coming. He had warned the Council of Earth. No one had listened. But Nemesis had listened. The ship was more than metal. More than weapons. It had a presence, a will. Some whispered that it was alive. Eric did not deny it. He felt it when he gave orders. The ship wanted war. It hungered for it. The crew feared the vessel, yet they followed their captain without hesitation. They had witnessed what Nemesis could do. They had seen entire fleets fall. Eric spoke softly, but his words echoed through the command deck. They will come again. They always do. And when they do, his eyes hardened, his voice a whisper of steel. We will remind them why no one survives humanity's wrath. Nemesis pulsed faintly, as if answering. Back in the wider galaxy, fear grew. Refugees whispered of Earth's vengeance. Traders carried stories of burning fleets. Even pirates avoided the Sol system now. Maps marked it not as a target, but as a grave. Yet despite the warnings, the Council began to gather another force. Larger. Deadlier. Their pride would not allow them to retreat. And far away, Nemesis waited. The stars trembled, though they did not yet know why. The second fleet moved with silence and shame. They did not announce their departure. They did not celebrate the mission. Every ship carried fear like a shadow. The Council had ordered it, an armada greater than the first, built from every empire's resources. If the first fleet had been overwhelming, this one was a storm. 600 ships. Dozens of dreadnoughts. Weapons that had only been tested in secret. They were not coming to conquer Earth anymore. They were coming to erase it. The fleet's commander, High Admiral Serac, stood inside his flagship's command chamber, watching the stars drift. He was no fool. He had studied Rilar's report in silence, playing it over and over, watching the human ship glide untouched among ruins. His soldiers whispered of it constantly, though he punished them when he could. He wanted to believe the humans had used some hidden trick. A one-time weapon. A desperate gamble. If not, then Serac knew he was marching his entire armada into the jaws of death. Still, he obeyed. Pride and fear of the Council gave him no choice. Days later, the fleet entered Sol system. The humans were waiting. Sensors screamed as they crossed the edge of the system. Earth had fortified itself. Dozens of defense platforms glimmered in orbit. Drone swarms stirred from hiding. Mines drifted in silence, armed and ready. But these were distractions, meant to slow them down. At the center of it all, Nemesis rose. It came from the shadow of the moon, engines burning with calm light. Its black hull drank in the starlight, just as Rilar had described. And again, there was no fear in its movements. Only certainty. A voice crackled across the armada's comms. It was human, deep and cold. Turn back. This is your final warning. Serac's officers froze. Some wanted to obey. Others wanted to fight. But Serac clenched his fists. His pride, his honor, his fear of the Council, all demanded action. Fire everything, he roared. The armada unleashed hell. Missiles streaked through the void. Plasma lances cut the dark. Dreadnought cannons boomed, shaking even the silence of space. Every weapon the galaxy had ever built, every secret technology, was unleashed upon one single ship. Nemesis did not dodge. It did not retreat. It advanced. The first wave of weapons struck and vanished. Shields absorbed them, bent them, erased them. Energy washed over the black hull like water over stone. The second wave tore toward it. Nemesis opened fire. It was not like any weapon the galaxy understood. Beams of impossible light lanced through dreadnoughts, slicing them in half with surgical precision. Shockwaves rippled outward, tearing cruisers apart as if their armor were paper. Drones launched from Nemesis's hull, moving faster than thought, slipping into enemy ships and turning them into fireballs from within. The armada screamed. 600 voices begging, shouting, panicking at once. Ships tried to scatter, but Nemesis moved through them like a predator cutting down prey. Admiral Serac watched as his fleet died. One by one, dreadnoughts vanished into burning debris. His officers begged him to retreat. His hands shook as he gave the order. Fall back. All ships, fall back. But it was too late. Nemesis released something new. A pulse. A wave of energy that spread outward in every direction. Shields collapsed. Engines flickered and died. Hundreds of ships drifted helpless, powerless, as Nemesis cut through them. In less than an hour, the armada was gone. What had taken decades to build, what had been called the galaxy's strongest force, was erased like dust in the wind. Only Serac's flagship survived. Or rather, it was allowed to survive. Nemesis had locked its weapons upon him. Serac knew the truth. He was alive only because the humans wanted him alive. The same signal Rilar once heard came again, echoing through the void. Do not return. Serac trembled. His pride was ash. His honor was dust. He gave the order no commander ever wished to give. Retreat. Full retreat. The flagship limped away, carrying with it the memory of annihilation. The survivors whispered of Nemesis in broken voices. They said it was not a ship, but a demon. A shadow older than the stars. Something humanity had unearthed and unleashed. Back in the Sol system, Nemesis drifted silently once more. Its black hull glimmered faintly in the light of the sun. Captain Eric Vey sat in his chair, eyes cold. His crew did not celebrate. They did not cheer. They knew more would come. Eric looked at the stars beyond Earth and spoke quietly, words only Nemesis seemed to hear. They will never learn. Nemesis pulsed faintly, as if it agreed. And out in the galaxy, fear became something greater. Not just whispers. Not just rumors. But terror, carved into the hearts of every empire. For now, they knew. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was wrath. The council chamber was silent this time. Not one voice dared to shout. Not one dared to laugh. High Admiral Serac stood in the center, his body broken, his pride shattered. He had returned with a single ship from an armada of 600. His eyes looked empty, as if part of his soul had been left behind in the void. The council demanded answers. What happened? Why did you fail? Serac's voice was flat, without emotion. We did not fail. We never had a chance. The chamber erupted in whispers, but Serac continued. Nemesis is not a ship. It is something else. We unleashed everything, dreadnought cannons, swarm missiles, annihilation beams. None of it mattered. It destroyed us like insects. It let me live only to bring you this warning. The warning. The words Relar once carried. The words the galaxy had already whispered in fear. Do not return. But now the council had proof. Still, not all of them accepted it. A Xylari noble hissed in frustration. One ship cannot rule the galaxy. They are bluffing. Humanity hides behind this ghost vessel. If we find and destroy it, Earth will fall. Relar rose from the corner. His voice carried pain but also fire. You do not understand. Nemesis is not just a weapon. It is a message. Humanity does not seek conquest. They do not chase you. They do not march on your worlds. They only defend. But when you come for them, none of you survive. The noble snarled, but others looked away in silence. Too many ships had already been lost. Too many witnesses had spoken of the black vessel. One counselor finally whispered the thought none of them wanted to admit. What if there are more? What if Nemesis is not the only one? The chamber froze. Meanwhile, far from their debates, Nemesis drifted in orbit around the moon. Its hull was dark and silent, but inside, its crew carried heavy hearts. They had destroyed thousands of lives. Soldiers, officers, entire crews, gone. Yet none of them felt joy or pride. Only unease. Captain Eric Vey walked the deck in silence. His crew saluted him, but their eyes avoided his. They feared their own ship as much as the enemy did. He stopped in front of the massive viewport. Earth glimmered below, blue and fragile. It looked so small compared to the firepower Nemesis carried. Eric whispered, how long before they send everything? His first officer, Mara, stood beside him. She had fought through both battles. Her voice was sharp, but her eyes betrayed doubt. They will not stop. Pride will not let them. The council will keep sending fleets until there is nothing left to send. Eric's jaw tightened. And every time, Nemesis will answer. Until the galaxy finally understands. Behind them, the ship pulsed faintly. The crew felt it, like a heartbeat, like the ship itself had heard and agreed. But not all on Earth trusted Nemesis. In hidden bunkers, leaders argued. Some feared the ship more than the enemies it destroyed. It is too powerful, one of them said. We dug it up, but we do not control it. What if it turns on us? Others replied with cold truth. Without it, Earth would already be ash. For now, Nemesis was silent, patient. But those who worked close to its systems swore they could feel something strange. Whispers in the metal. A presence in the circuits. As if the ship did not just follow orders, it judged them. Far across the stars, the survivors of Serac's fleet spread their stories. They spoke in taverns, in military halls, in dark alleys. They told of the black warship that moved like a shadow, of weapons that defied reason, of fleets that vanished like dust. And fear became legend. Children of alien worlds woke screaming from dreams of Nemesis. Soldiers hesitated when ordered to march toward Sol. Merchants changed their routes, avoiding human space by light years. Yet, deep within the Council's heart, war still burned. The empires could not accept humiliation. They could not accept that a single world, a single ship, had shattered their power. Plans formed in secret. Weapons of last resort were whispered about. Assassins, spies, superweapons, all were discussed. The galaxy stood at the edge of something terrible. On Earth, Captain Eric closed his eyes. He could feel it too. Nemesis was restless. The warship did not sleep. It was waiting. Waiting for the next armada. Waiting for the galaxy to make its final mistake. And when that day came, Eric knew the truth. Humanity would not hide. Humanity would not beg. Humanity would burn its name into the stars. The galaxy was restless. Fear spread like a sickness, touching every world, every empire. Merchants whispered about it in markets, soldiers murmured in barracks, leaders argued in secret halls. The story of Nemesis could not be silenced. Entire fleets had vanished, armadas burned, and the humans had spoken only 3 words, "Do not return." But pride is a fire that never dies easily. In a hidden fortress far beyond the core worlds, the Council gathered again. This time, they did not argue loudly. Their voices were low, sharp, poisoned with anger. Serac's warning still haunted them, but many refused to bow to fear. "We cannot allow this," one said, claws tapping the table. "If humanity rises, everything we built will collapse." "They have only one weapon," another hissed. "One ship. If we destroy Nemesis, humanity will break." The Council's greatest minds were summoned. Scientists, engineers, warlords. Together, they forged a desperate plan. They would not send another armada. They had lost too many fleets already. This time, they would use something different. Something forbidden. A weapon not of fleets, but of shadows. Spies were dispatched across the stars. Silent ships, cloaked agents, whispers in the dark. Their mission, to learn the truth of Nemesis. Was it truly alive? Was it truly alone? And most important of all, was there a way to destroy it? On Earth, Captain Eric felt the shift. He could not see the spies, but Nemesis could. The ship sensors picked up anomalies, signals too faint to be natural, transmissions hidden in the noise of the stars. Nemesis pulsed faintly, almost like a growl. "They're watching us," Mara said, her hand resting on the railing. Eric nodded. "Let them. Fear isn't enough for the Council anymore. They want answers." He paused, his eyes narrowing. "But they won't like what they find." For weeks, the spies observed. They saw Nemesis move with impossible speed, patrol the system without escort, and return untouched every time. They watched as humans worked upon its surface, but they noticed something strange. The humans did not seem in full control. Commands were spoken softly, carefully, as if given to a predator that might turn. The spies sent back their reports, and the Council trembled. Some said the ship was not human at all. That it was older, something unearthed from beneath Earth's soil, something humanity had claimed but never truly mastered. Others whispered an even darker thought, that Nemesis was not a ship, but a weapon from the old war, a time erased from records, a time when gods of fire had walked among the stars. Still, they prepared their plan. If Nemesis could not be beaten with fleets, then it would be undone from within. A team of assassins was chosen. The deadliest killers from 5 empires. They would infiltrate Earth, find Nemesis, and cripple it before it could awaken again. They traveled in silence, cloaked ships slipping through patrols, disguises layered upon disguises. For the first time, the war against humanity would not be fought with ships and cannons, but with shadows and blades. But Nemesis was waiting. The assassins landed in secret on the far side of the moon. They moved like ghosts, invisible to human eyes. Yet the moment their boots touched the dust, the ship pulsed. Inside its command deck, Eric felt the vibration under his chair. The lights dimmed for an instant. The crew froze. "What was that?" Mara asked sharply. Eric's voice was low. "It knows." Nemesis turned its gaze toward the lunar surface. Sensors pierced the dust, the rock, the shadows. The assassins froze as their cloaks failed one by one, stripped away by forces they could not understand. They had expected to face guards, weapons, maybe even traps. They had not expected the ship itself to see them. One assassin raised his rifle. The ground shook. A pulse of energy slammed into him, turning him to ash before he could fire. The others scattered, but the moon had already become a cage. Nemesis's drones swarmed like black insects, moving faster than thought. Blades of light cut the dust, one by one removing the intruders. In less than an hour, silence returned. On the command deck, Mara stared at the readings. It killed them all, before we even moved a single soldier. Eric looked at the pulsing lights around him. He had no smile, no pride, only a cold certainty. Nemesis does not need us to protect it. It protects itself. Mara's voice lowered to a whisper. Captain, what if one day it decides it no longer needs us at all? Eric said nothing. Nemesis pulsed again, faint and steady, like the heartbeat of a predator waiting for its prey. And far away, the council received their final report. Their assassins were gone. No signal. No return. For the first time, even the most arrogant among them felt the truth sink deep. Humanity had not just built a weapon. Humanity had awakened something that should never have returned. And now, it was too late to bury it again. The council was breaking. Fear tore through its members like fire through dry wood. Twice they had sent fleets. Once they had sent assassins. Each time, Nemesis had answered, and each time, nothing returned. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to hide. But pride still burned in the hearts of the old empires. They would not allow a single world, a single species, to bend the galaxy with fear. So they turned to their darkest creation. Deep beneath the surface of a barren moon, hidden even from their own people, the council had built something long forbidden. It was not a ship. It was not alive. It was a weapon designed only for destruction, a star killer. A device that could collapse suns and erase entire systems. We cannot defeat Nemesis, one counselor said, his voice shaking. But we can erase the humans before Nemesis awakens again. The plan was madness, but desperation made it truth. They would not send ships. They would send death itself. A weapon that no shield could block, no fleet could resist. The device was prepared in silence, loaded into a massive carrier, hidden behind cloaks that swallowed all signals. It slipped into the void, heading toward Sol System. On Earth, Captain Eric Vey felt restless. Nemesis was quiet, but its silence was heavy, like the calm before a storm. The crew noticed it too. Systems flickered at random. Sensors stretched far beyond their range, scanning emptiness. It was as if the ship smelled blood in the dark. Mara stood at Eric's side. Something is coming, she whispered. Eric nodded. Nemesis feels it. I trust its instincts more than I trust my own. Hours later, the alarm screamed. The device entered the system, hidden under layers of distortion. At first, even Nemesis struggled to see it clearly. But then the ship pulsed, and the illusion shattered. Eric stared at the readings. His blood ran cold. They mean to kill the sun. The crew gasped. Destroy the sun, and Earth would die with it. Every planet, every moon, every living thing in Sol would be reduced to ice and darkness. Nemesis roared to life. Its engines ignited with power that shook the void. It launched forward, leaving Earth behind as it hunted the intruder. The carrier carrying the Star Killer fired decoys, waves of drones, mines, and energy bursts meant to distract. But Nemesis cut through them like a blade through paper. Beams of black fire lanced out, ripping the void apart, tearing the traps to nothing. The carrier panicked. It launched the device early. A massive sphere of glowing energy detached, drifting toward the sun, its countdown already begun. The humans on Earth watched in terror. The sun itself seemed to flicker as the device pulled at its heart. Eric stood from his chair. His voice was steel. All power. Everything we have. Stop it. Nemesis answered. Its hull glowed with lines of ancient symbols, pulsing brighter and brighter. It unleashed a weapon no one had ever seen, a lance of energy that bent space itself. It struck the device, wrapping around it like chains, holding it in place. The device fought back. Gravity twisted. Time seemed to slow. The void screamed as two impossible forces clashed. Nemesis pushed harder, engines burning like miniature stars. The countdown neared its end. 10, 9, 8. The crew held their breath. Mara gripped the railing, her knuckles white. 7, 6, 5. Nemesis pulsed again. Its hull cracked with light, as if it was tearing itself apart to give more. 4, 3. Eric shouted, his voice carrying through the ship. Now. Nemesis unleashed a final burst. The device shuddered, then tore apart in a storm of fire. The explosion lit the system brighter than a sun, waves of energy slamming across every planet, every ship, every station. But the sun was safe. Earth lived. Silence followed. The crew collapsed in relief, but their eyes turned toward the captain. Toward Nemesis. The ship floated, smoke and fire across its black hull. For the first time, Nemesis looked wounded. Its power had not been infinite after all. Eric sat slowly, his face pale. They will not stop. They will burn their own galaxy before they accept defeat. Mara's voice was soft, almost trembling. And if they bring another Starkiller? Or 10? Eric looked at the screens, at the wounded shadow of his ship. His answer was heavy. Then Nemesis will fight until there is nothing left to fight with. And then, it will fight still. The crew said nothing. The hum of Nemesis filled the silence again, deep and steady. A predator's breath. But deep within the ship's systems, something had changed. Nemesis had pushed itself beyond its limits, and in doing so, it had awakened more of what it truly was. And the galaxy would soon learn what that meant. The galaxy had gone silent. The Council worlds no longer spoke of resistance, and even the bravest fleets refused to mention Earth by name. It was as if fear itself had spread through the stars, reaching every corner of space. But the silence was not peace, it was only the calm before something worse. A signal appeared on long-range scanners. At first, the Council believed it was another human fleet moving into position. But the truth was far stranger. The signal was coming from a dead sector. A graveyard of ships where humanity had once unleashed its wrath. Thousands of broken vessels floated there, twisted metal and shattered hulls spinning in the void. That place was supposed to be silent forever. Yet now, something was moving inside it. Council observers watched in horror as wrecks of their own ships shifted slowly, as if pulled by invisible strings. Then the truth revealed itself. Hidden inside the graveyard was a massive structure. Not a ship. Not a station. Something else. It was human. The black silhouette stretched across the stars, larger than any known warship. It had been waiting there, asleep beneath the ruins of destroyed fleets. A weapon not meant for war, but for the end of wars. The Council could not believe it. They thought humanity had already shown them the worst. But this was something different. On Earth, Command received the same signal. The old generals stood in silence as the data appeared. The structure was codenamed Erebus. Humanity had built it long ago, during the darkest days of their survival wars, and then hidden it away. Even humans themselves had chosen to forget it. But the graveyard had awakened it. And now, it was alive again. The Council panicked. Messages spread across the stars. Some begged humanity to turn it off. Others demanded to know if this was a threat. But humanity did not answer. Not at first. They, too, were afraid of what they had made. For 3 days, the galaxy held its breath. The wreckage around the structure slowly began to move, forming a wall, a shield of broken ships orbiting Erebus like bones around a beast. Energy fields lit up across its surface, glowing like rivers of fire. Finally, a single transmission was sent. Short. Cold. Final. This is not war. This is a warning. If you ever again seek to erase humanity, the stars themselves will burn. The message was carried on every channel. Every empire heard it. And with it, a dreadful realization spread: humanity no longer needed fleets. Humanity no longer needed armies. One weapon, one relic of the past, was enough to hold the galaxy hostage. The Council gathered in secret. Some wanted to unite and strike now, before Erebus could fully awaken. Others argued it was suicide. The weapon had survived buried for centuries. What chance did they have? The truth was worse. Humanity had not even used Erebus yet. They only showed it. And still, entire star systems were surrendering. Whole species were offering tribute, desperate not to anger Earth further. The galaxy had become a shadow of itself. But inside the silence, a question spread like fire. If humanity had hidden this one weapon, what else had they buried in the dark? And the stars began to fear not what humans had done, but what they might choose to do next. The audience is left wondering, was Erebus truly under human control? Or had something older, something darker, awakened on its own?